Good morning. Hi, Carrie. Hello. Good morning, Robin. And Meg. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I'm so excited, you guys. Good morning. Yeah, I'm like super excited. I'm not gonna lie. I was up at like 6 a.m. and I was like, let's go. It's time to stitch. And David was like, you know you still have 4 hours until it starts. And I was like, yes, I know. All right. So I just want to say before we get started that this is meant to be fun. So if any point it's giving you large amounts of stress, then take a step back and have a bit more relaxed approach because it's meant to be fun. The other thing is, two other things. The other thing that I was thinking about first was that try not to compare yourself to all of the other people, because for some people, this is your very first embroidery project, period. For other people, it's their 10th or 12th or 15th or 100th. So like you don't really know how long people have been trying and practicing and whatever. So try not to do the comparison game, where you're like, oh, hers looks better than mine, or, oh, they chose a better color than me, or whatever. Everyone's is going to look different, and that's kind of the point. And the third thing is have a look at the Barmy Fox SAL. So it's just this and then SAL after. And that's where we're going to be posting all of our progress shots. And I really encourage you to go and try and like other people's pictures and stories if you can. Give some words of encouragement if you can. I'll be trying to do the same thing as well. But it really makes it like a whole community instead of just you at home stitching with me following along. It's actually you with over 100 other people. So I think that's really special. I'm going to stop talking and dig right in. Hi, George. How are you? So for mine, we're going to start on this very first one. And I've picked this, thanks, Jessie, for your hair. This like light bluish purple color. And then we're going to match a green for the stem. So each day we'll do one complete flower and we'll do a bunch of different stitches and different thread strand quantities. Yeah, for each one. So I'll say it when I'm doing it, how many strands. And if I have a color number, then I'll tell you. And then in the YouTube video, when I upload it, I'll be sure to say what stitches and how many strands. And then if you get behind or something, then you can always pop on the YouTube and just read the description, and then you'll get to know which one. Yeah? Okay, so we're starting off with a really simple, easy one. Just some straight stitches, not even satin stitches. They don't have to be really smooth or neat or nice. They'll just be straight stitches here, and then we'll try to make the satin stitches a little bit neater for the leaves, and we'll do a very simple back stitch for the stem. So the other thing I want to say is that a lot of people say, how do you know how many strands to use? And the easiest way is to hold it up and see if it's going to be too bulky. So you don't want to have just one. I'll zoom in a minute. You don't want to have just one strand for each of the little petals here. So I'm going to cut it down to 3, and then we'll have a look and see if that will work. So is that Louise? Hi, Louise. Whoop. And to do that, there's 2 ways you can do it. But if you look at your, apologies for the nails, guys. If you look at your strands here, you can see there's 6 different strands, and you can do 2 different ways to get 3 strands out. So the first way is to separate 3 and 3, and I always call it the Y method because it looks like a Y, and you just kind of untwist as you're going, and they will pull apart. Yeah? The other way that you can do it is to pull out one strand at a time. So let me grab a length. And you can just pull out one strand. And there's no way that's right or wrong. You do it however you want to do it, yeah? So if you do the Y, you just pull out however many you need. Like this, we're gonna do 3, yeah? Or if you wanna just pull out one, then you're gonna take just the one that you wanna pull out. Again, just one. Hi, Neve. Yeah, and you're gonna hold all of the other ones in your hand. Let me grab it because I've already separated it. So you're gonna hold all of the other ones and you're just gonna pull that one out. Yeah, and you see how it's like building up here? So you've got one strand here, and here you have 5 strands. So it just depends on how you want to do it. If you want to do one by one, then you can take one strand at a time and put them all together to make 3 strands, or you can separate it 3 and 3. Again, there's no real right or wrong way, really. However you feel like doing it. Hi, Meg. So I've got my 3 strands. I'm sorry I'm going over everything for this one. Ah, Neve says, I'm not stitching. I just find you soothing. I actually woke up with a plugged up nose and I'm like low-key worried about the state of me. I'm hoping that this is just like, oh, you've got a runny nose. And this is not the start of anything more serious. That's all I'm going to say. But I am going to do everything very step by step because some people have never stitched before. So I want to make sure that everybody kind of knows. Yeah. So the one way that you can do this is you can take all 3 strands and push them up through. Yeah. And then at the very end, we're just going to do a little knot. Now there's other ways that you can do this. All I'm doing is making a loop and putting the tail in the loop. That's it. I remember the last stitch along, someone was like, you're doing something magical with your knot. No, I'm not. I'm just making a knot. That's it. Like, nothing special. The other way that you can do it, it doesn't work with 3 strands, but it has to be an even number. So if you've got 2, if you want to do 2 strands, or if you want to do 4 strands, you can take, I've just got the other 2 strands here. I'll zoom back out again. And you can either take your 2 strands, put it through your needle, and then you actually make a knot and enclose the needle in the thread. So if I made a knot here, if I made a knot at the end, the needle would actually be enclosed in this thread. So here's the loop. Yeah? So your needle can't fall out. So this is good for people if you tend to like pull your needle off your thread a lot, then this would be a good way for you. So there you go. So there's like 2 ways. There's another one as well, but for our purposes today, that's all we need. All right, I'm gonna zoom her in again, and then let's actually stitch something. What do you say? Because 10 minutes of me just chatting by myself. All right, so we're just gonna practice some straight stitches. Normally I get the pen out and then we can do some lines. If that helps you, then of course do that. I'm gonna make all of my lines on an angle into the middle of this flower. Of course, it's not tight enough. And you don't have to make a nice straight line here because these ones in this triangle, we're gonna go into that flower. So if you don't have a nice straight line there, that's totally fine. So I'm gonna do one on the left side now. Knit another one. So this is basically satin stitch, but for some reason, when you call them straight stitches, people seem to not freak out as much. But to be fair, they don't have to be neat and nice and tidy. They can just be just straight stitches that are next to each other. And again, we're using just 3 strands. I'm just going to tuck this one right in between. There. So there we go. So we have one little one done and then half of this one. I'm just going to go back and do the other side. Hi, hi. Some people still saying hi. Now, if you're using a 6-inch hoop, then you might even have to do 2 strands. You just have to have a little check. Now, with any kind of flower that's like symmetrical like this, how you have one side of the leaf or the petal, I'm gonna mix this up the whole time, so I'm sorry. So kind of you have one side is the same as the other, kind of the same as these ones, where one side is the same. I always do one down the middle first. That's just a personal preference. If you think you can go from left and then do all the way around to the right, then of course you can do that. But I always find that if I do one down the middle, it kind of gives me a nice guideline. There we go. Now, if you start running out of space down here, you can always tuck some a little bit higher. So they don't always have to go all the way down. You can always kind of go like 3/4 of the way down, say. So there's 3 of them down, and then we've got one more over here. This one's quite big. Anyone else in England wake up to frost? Because all of my grass was frozen this morning. So there you go. We've got one little flower finished. Normally I would do a knot on the back, finish here, and then start a new one over here. But just for the sake of time, I'm just going to jump straight over and do the same thing over here. Yep. Carrie's got frost. Meg has frost. Oh, it's freezing. Yesterday we did my mother-in-law's garden. She's got a nice little garden in the back. So she doesn't have grass. She has like stones and so we went over there and kind of hung out outside so that we could help her. And oh my goodness, it was freezing. Australia is hot. Oh, I wish that were us. I'm not gonna lie, I'm ready for spring and summer. But I think most of you know that we go to America in the summer for 5 or 6 weeks. And we're starting to get a little bit nervous that we're not going to be able to go this year. Not because we don't want to, but because of like travel restrictions and stuff. So I'm a little bit like, oh, please, guys. All right, we're almost done with this one as well. I think I've just got 1 or 2 more to do. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. I don't know if Neve is still in here, but if she is, do you have one of those like elephant ear plants? I forget what they're called, like their real name. But mine is just like slowly dying. Okay, so before you finish each color, I would suggest you have a good look at your flower and make sure you don't have any places that you need to add a couple more stitches. Okay, so on the back, there's a couple ways you can finish this as well. Some people will slide their needle underneath all of these a couple times in different directions and then snip it. So no knots. Get out of there. Other people will just make a regular knot. And that's kind of what I tend to do for this. So again, just make a loop and put your needle inside. And then I hold the bottom down here and kind of shimmy it down so that it's really tight up against the fabric. If there's a lot of knots in one area, that's when I tend to weave it underneath a couple times and make sure that it's, like nice and secure. All right, let's move that out of the way. And now we need a green. So I've got this like purpley blue here. So we need to pick a green that's like not going to clash with that color. That's quite nice. Or we could go dark. I think I'm gonna do that light one. Nope, this one. And again, we'll do three strands. So however you want to separate it, you can do 3 and 3, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, the light one looks nice, doesn't it? I'm gonna do a little knot at the end. Okay, let's get this sorted. All right, so with these kinds of leaves like this, I'm gonna do the straight/satin stitches. Straight stitches are normally not all in a row like satin stitches, but normally they're just like a one straight stitch. Do you know what I mean? They're not like making like a pattern or anything like that. But let's see if we can do the satin stitch on these because they have a very interesting shape. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can make it up and down like this, or you can make them go straight out. And that's what I'm going to do, is the straight out. If you feel like this is too awkward of a shape for you and you don't want to give it a go, you can do a very simple back stitch to outline these, and that's fine. So we'll do a back stitch for each of these stems. And then if you feel like, nope, not for me, I don't feel like I can do it yet, and you don't want to try, obviously try, but if you don't want to, then go ahead and do a back stitch for around here. And again, we're doing 3 strands of this as well. So for the satin stitch, I'm going to try and do the tip. I don't want to talk about Grammarly. So with this, we're going to have different length stitches, just like this one. And some of them will go all the way, and then the other ones are going to follow this shape. So this is really good practice if you want to practice satin stitch or are not too great at it. So here we go. We'll do the back stitch first, and we'll fill in these little ones by going down into these stitches. So let's do that really quickly. You only need maybe 3 or 4 stitches to fill it in. You're going to go straight in. And watch out for the knot here, because we've just gone down in the tip. Normally I would come up in the flower so that the knot wouldn't be there. So my first stitch would have been from here down, but it's really not so difficult. Grammarly, fuck off, mate. Sometimes, man, these YouTube ads, they can go on for like a long time. One time I was like, I'll just listen to it and you know, it'll go away after a while. It'll be fine. 5 minutes later, I go and check and I was on ad 4 of 5 with 5 minutes left. I was like, oh, goodness. Okay, so we've just done 4 straight stitches here. And now we'll do the back stitch. Now the back stitch, you're just gonna come up and back down. And then come up a little bit farther. You want these back stitches to all be about the same length. So I can even zoom in more. And if they're not, like, it's not the end of the world. But this is a good place to practice making them all the same or about the same. So there's one little stem. We're going to come up here. We're going to go back down here in the same hole. Again, trying to make them about the same length. You don't want to have some really long ones and some really short ones, unless that's the look that you want to go for, you know? Normally back stitches are about the same. And now we're up at the top here, so we're going to do some more straight stitches to make like the bud of the flower. There we go. So these ones are pretty much done. If you wanted to fill in this one a bit more, you totally could, but three is fine. Now I'm just going to jump over here and start my satin stitch. And this is where the lines really help. Very close. This is where the lines really, really help, because you can really get the thread to be nice and parallel. Parallel means that they're never gonna meet, so you want to get them nice and straight next to each other. So just like this, yeah? Never like this, never like this, always just straight next to each other. And you want to keep going to fill up the shape of this. Little leaf. Again, the first video will be much longer because I've done like 10 minutes of talking before I even started stitching. So apologies for that. They're not this long like every single day. I mean, they could be because I do talk a lot. I'm sorry. And again, if you don't feel like you can do this, if you think, I don't want to, then just do the back stitch around. Don't add the lines in the middle. And you can just do a regular back stitch just like we did for the stem, and you can follow around the whole outline of the leaves. And obviously, if you have questions, then you can just leave them here, or you can DM me separately if you want. After the Instagram lives, they'll be available for you to watch on Instagram for 24 hours. And then after that, you have to go to YouTube. So normally I do the live, which normally takes 30 minutes, maybe 40 if I'm like talking for a long time. And then I try to upload the video to YouTube immediately after that. So in order to do that, it takes about an hour, and I have to keep my phone on, like the display on, for the whole time, and I can't go away from it. So if I don't respond back like as soon as possible, it's probably because I'm uploading the video. So I can't like go away from the YouTube app. I thought about like just sending it to my computer, but my computer has so many stitch along videos saved to it that it's almost out of space. So I've got an external hard drive, so I just send them straight to that. So here we go, just a couple more stitches and we're all done with the first flower. And then when I'm done stitching, I'll show you the little map that has some of the flowers on it. So then if you wanted to kind of look up what colors that the flowers were, if you wanted to make them like the right color, if you know what I mean, then you could totally do that too. Okay, so there we go. That's our very first flower. Yeah? Now, obviously, you can see some of the pen marks kind of peeking out from the top. That's fine. Don't worry about that, because at the very end, if you used the Pilot heat erasable friction pen, then we'll just take a blow dryer and erase that. If you used a pencil, then you need to cover those because you're not going to be able to erase them with an eraser. It's just not going to happen. So think about that when you're filling it in. If you use the pencil to kind of go on the outside of the line as opposed to the inside of the line. So for me, I can go pretty much on the line, and it doesn't really matter because I'm going to erase these later. So like I said, here's the little paper if you want to like take a screenshot or something that shows some of the color suggestions. It's already in your pattern, but here are like the actual kind of flowers. So this one I was going to do red, but I kind of like the purple color better, so I changed it. This is just a flower that I tend to do on a lot of my patterns, and I didn't do it on the last 15 colors, no, 15 flowers. So I thought I'd do it here. Then we've got tulips, Queen Anne's lace, and this can either be lily of the valley or snowdrops or bluebells. They kind of all have the same shape because they all fall down like that. Then we have an anemone, lots of different colors for that. Forget-me-nots. King Protea. They're really, really quite pretty, and this is obviously a very stylized version. I think I might change them to have the pointy tips instead of the round ones, but we'll see. This is a Black-Eyed Susan. Then we have a Gardenia. Then jumping down here, yarrow, a coneflower, a poppy, a violet or a pansy. It depends on which one that you like the best. And then these are kind of like rosebuds. So there's all of them if you want to have a little, if you want to like make them the right colors. You don't have to, obviously. I mean, I'm not really, but if you wanted to, you could. So there we go. The first one finished. Be sure to go to the Barmy Fox SAL. You can like and comment and encourage other people. And I just want you guys to have fun. Yeah? Stay at home and stitch, isolate, and create, right? So I hope that you didn't mind that I talk so much, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely Monday day. So enjoy, and I'll talk with you later.